Hello, I hope you're having a nice day and I really hope you've had a nice week. I thought I'd quickly do one more poem because, I think sometimes when you're on like the motivation, when you're feeling the motivation, it's sometimes good to do it because otherwise you have weeks where you don't feel like you're up to it. Anyway, I was just reading some Pinterest poems and I thought how poems are usually meant to be romantic, like that's the main theme of poems, but I don't find that lots of poems are very romantic. Well, when I was younger, I did, but more and more as I get older, I feel like love is such a big, wide topic, and I think sometimes when people try to put it into a poem, what happens is that they kind of stuff it with these metaphors, these extravagant, superfluous adjectives, adverbs, and all these, like over the top, bigger than life kind of images to describe it. And I think sometimes that takes away from the simplicity and the beauty of it almost. It makes it seem this cartoonish, distant, far away thing that like some people have access to, but then most of us never get to glimpse. And so that's why I think I don't find a lot of romantic poems very realistic or even that romantic. I find them more superfluous or just not real. But having said that, I do have some of my favorites. I think anyone that reads poetry is, by definition, a hopeless romantic or a cynic. I think maybe that's generalizing and I shouldn't generalize. Maybe I'm going to put this bit up. But yeah, I just think that if poetry and like romance kind of are in the same group. When people think of poetry, they think of like the romantics, the Jane Austen, all that era. But today I have this really beautiful writer. Her name is Wendy Cope, and there was one poem that she wrote that I found on Pinterest, and I loved it so much. Like I think to this day it's my favorite like love poem, and it is so simple. And because I loved her so much, I thought I love that poem so much. I'm like, I'm gonna buy the book that this poem is in. And I'll read the poem and then we can go into it. The poem is called The Orange. Already it's kind of like a weird image, like we don't really associate it with love. Like, usually it's about flowers or chocolates or mountains or I don't know. It's just, I think this is not a very cliche image and I kind of like that. Anyway, I'll read it out loud. It's already 3 minutes. God, I ramble on for so long. I'm so sorry. All right. The orange. At lunchtime, I bought a huge orange. The size of it made us all laugh. I peeled it and shared it with Robert and Dave. They got quarters and I had a half. And that orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park, this is peace and contentment. It's new. The rest of the day was quite easy. I did all the jobs on my list and enjoyed them and had some time over. I love you. I'm glad I exist. That's it. It's a very short poem, if you can see. I love it so much. It's so simple, but it's so serene. I think she's saying how the simple act of sharing an orange is love. I think she's sharing with her friends, and okay, maybe that's not romance, but I think that's love. And I think sometimes people get so caught up in the romantic love, and obviously I love romantic love poems too, but I think this is about either friendship or maybe familial love, and I think there's not enough poems about that kind of love. And when you see something like that, and I think also it's self-love as well. She says, I love you and I'm glad I exist. And maybe she's saying, I'm glad I exist to experience this world, this world of oranges. And shopping and parks and walks. Yeah, I love that idea of simplicity and how some things as grand as love can be found in orange. Sometimes it's the small acts, someone saving you a seat on the tram, or someone opening the door for you, or someone knowing how to make your favorite cup of tea, like they add the right amount of sugar, or if you're like me, I like honey. And I think that's love, isn't it? And I don't know, I think sometimes we think it's this big, elephant of a thing that we can't really reach, but I don't know. I think sometimes it's not small, but I think it's more simple than we think it is. Yeah, I love that second stanza. And that orange, it made me so happy, as ordinary things often do. Just lately, the shopping, a walk in the park, this is peace and contentment. It's new. Wonderful. I think even sometimes I zoom into one thing and I get really worried about like assessments or what I'm going to do tomorrow, writing emails and all this, and then my shoulders hurt, and then I come home and a bit grumpy with my sister and we fight. But then if we zoom out, like we're kind of like, and then I realize, wait, like it doesn't really matter, like, I can just take it day by day and, like notice the small things. I think I really like talking my thoughts out loud here, and because, like I often get anxious too, and sometimes it's like nice, like it's almost like journaling my thoughts out loud and hoping that, somehow maybe someone can also find some comfort in it. Like even today I was a bit anxious, I'm running a bit late, but then I think, I'll probably catch the train, and it's beautiful. Like Melbourne is a beautiful city and the trains are really lovely. Like there's big windows and you can see the sky, and maybe even if it's winter I'll get a glimpse of blue, and then I might go and have a cappuccino at my favorite coffee shop, or like try a new one. There's a beautiful suburb called Kensington, like it's pretty far, but I love it so much, and it's very leafy and green. And then, I go to work, and even though it's a bit mundane and boring, I can still find little bits of joy in it, like, yeah, maybe that's love. Maybe love is all around us. I used to think love was always in this, like, one ideal thing, like one person, or this one realm, like romantic love. But, like, you love your dog, that's not any less of a love than romantic love. I think romantic love is great, and those poems are amazing, but sometimes I think the whole love, like the poetry, has been consumed by romantic love. People dying, people fighting, people getting so worked up about this romance, but they forget that, you could have just as much as meaningful relationships with your friends, your family, your pets, and I think maybe most importantly yourself. Yeah, I think that's why I love it so much. It's very underrated, and it has that subtlety, which I think is often very beautiful. I think sometimes, yeah, the most beautiful things are the very small, subtle things. Anyway, before I ramble on too long, I'll say goodbye. I hope you have a lovely weekend and a really good week next week. All right, take care.